All right, very good. Now call to order this continued meeting of the Town Council of Blackstone. I want to wish everybody a Happy New Year, and this is a continued meeting, just a few ground rules. Council can vote tonight if it so chooses on any matter. The only agenda item that I have, unless someone would like to make an addition, is the tourism presentation, which we have a copy of. Is anyone here tonight who would like to make an addition to the agenda? This would be the time. I have one item, and it's not an action item. I was notified late this afternoon about a request to use the Armory. They're going to want council to make a decision on the 28th, and I'll rehash that before we adjourn tonight. Very, very straightforward. We are pleased to have with us tonight Ms. Sandra Tanner of the Virginia Tourism Corporation, and several volunteers in the audience who helped come about this plan, this proposal. And Ms. Tanner, will let you take it away.
Mayor, Council, thank you so much for having me here tonight. I'm looking forward to telling you all about tourism, why it's important, why we did the plan, and to help give you enough information to make an informed decision to adopt it.
Very good.
But first, a little bit about me. I'm Sandra Tanner. I work for Partnership Marketing, which is a division of Virginia Tourism. I'm a tourism development specialist, which means I come into communities, I do strategic planning, I do workshops for entrepreneurs on how to do social media, how to write business plans. I do agritourism workshops. Anything that the community needs, once they have their plan adopted, I come back in and help them, even if I bring in other state agencies. I'm like a liaison between some other agencies, and I have partners in all of them. So I can bring them to the table for funding, for whatever. I'm the one that facilitated the Blackstone Tourism Plan for DBI, and I'm a former town councilman.
All right.
I'm a former trustee for Mecklenburg County Schools. My husband is now the mayor of La Crosse. And so I tell you this to let you know that I understand your position, because I've sat in your chairs. And I'm not coming here tonight to say, here's this grand plan and it's going to cost $5 million and you need to fund it, because I know that's not going to happen. Right. What I'm here tonight to tell you is that I understand, and I want to help you get to those goals and objectives that you set by looking at what's the low-hanging fruit, how do we have a unified voice, how do we market so we can get more people in here, staying longer, spending more money. So this is what a plan is like. You know, when you're looking at putting a jigsaw puzzle together and you got all these different pieces, well, right now you've got all these different ideas in your community of what the community could be, how you could grow, things you could do. And so what the plan is we started putting a structure together. We put the framework together. We brought people from the community together and we asked them. We spent 2 days together getting lots of input. There's lots and lots of addendums to your plan, and it's input that they gave. The first thing I did was a vision board where they had to write down a vision of what they wanted this town to look like 10 years from now. And the wall was full. They have lots of things that they want to see. As you go through the planning process, you're going to find that you might have some pieces missing. And so that's when you have to bring in state agencies, or you bring in other people, or you bring in resources to put that plan together. And sometimes you're going to find pieces there that just don't fit at all. There might be parts of this plan now that you just have to throw out because it's not going to work in the community. So what the plan is it's direction, it's guidance, it's a starting point to build on what you already have. You put it together, and then you have your roadmap for success, and you have your completed puzzle. Now, once you complete the puzzle, then you continue your planning and growth and development. So why it's important to develop a plan, and you all have this entire presentation, because we're the placemakers. We're the ones that come in and help develop a place that people want to live, spend their money, be a part of the community. They want to work here. And when I think of that, Christine, you went to FAST-C in West Virginia, and I think, Mayor, you went as well one time. And I went up there both times representing the state, so that I could, anybody that was coming in, if they had any question, I could direct them to everybody in the area. And so we help build those communities. Now, while I'm practical, because I understand where you're sitting, I also believe in tourism. I believe in what it does for a community. I've seen what it can do for a community. I work from Martinsville to Suffolk and all the counties south of the James River. So I have a very wide area. In the past, I've also worked on the Northern Neck and the Middle Peninsula. So I've been in a lot of different places, and we've done these plans and we've worked through these things, and I've seen how it can make a community better for the citizens that are there. That's what I love about it. Whatever we do, it's best for the citizens first, and the byproduct of that is people like to come in, spend money, and the more things you have to do, the longer they'll stay, the more money they'll spend, and that's tax revenue. That's where you come in. That helps you. So it's the personal benefits that I just talked about, the cultural, the environmental, the economic benefits. It's job creation. Most of the businesses that I work with are small businesses in small towns. And the more things that you have in an area, the more people come in, there's more opportunity for entrepreneurial growth. There's more opportunity for small businesses, coffee shops, restaurants, things like that. But one of the biggest things is that it's an economic engine for industrial growth and development. And the reason I say that is because we develop that community that people want to live in. So if your economic developer is going out and trying to get the Microsofts or some of these other industries to come in, if you don't have those things that their employees are looking for, they're not coming here. It's not all about the incentives, it's not all about the land, it's about what does the community have for their employees. Will they want to live there? So that's what we do. We are the placemakers. We develop that place that everybody wants to live, and the byproduct is that when they're going out and they're selling your area for economic development, for industrial development, then they've got a story to tell because you've put it together. Tourism's economic development. Travelers spent $68 million per day in Virginia in 2017. $25 billion is the economic impact. That's how much money is spent all over the state of Virginia. We support 232,000 jobs across the state, and $1.73 billion is in state and local tax revenues. Now, travelers in Nottoway County spend $36,000 a day. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. We had a study done 2 years ago about agritourism and the importance of that, because now people want to know where their food is coming from. They want to be able to connect the farmer. A lot of the farms need to have opportunities to help them to keep the farm sustainable, so they open it up for people to come in and have an experience on the farm. So this is the economic benefits of that. $2.2 billion is how much people spend at agritourism venues. It supports 22,000 jobs and $134.7 million in state and local tax revenues. Now let's bring it down to the local level, to Nottoway. Travelers spend $36,000 a day in Nottoway County. It's $13 million of economic impact. It supports 122 jobs, $740,000 in state taxes, and $330,000 in local tax revenues. Some of that comes to the county, some of that comes to you all. Now, let's look at this for a minute. And let's say tourism goes away tomorrow. Where are you going to put that $13 million back into your local economy? That's money that people spend at Clay's. That's money that people spend at the Herb Cottage. That's money that people spend at Trend. That's what that $13 million is. Those jobs, the way that we look at that, if you have a restaurant that has 20 employees, only 4 of those out of the 20 are reflected in that number. So it may be more in those actual positions that are there, or those actual restaurants. This is just the way that it's figured in, because we know the other 16 are going to be there for the local people. Where are you going to find that money that's lost? Sadly, this year, you did not have the trains. That brings a lot of people in.
That's measured too. I mean, they actually keep count there.
So you lost. So in the 2018 figures, those numbers are going to go down if you didn't have a plan in place to help recoup that. Because that money, that economic impact, and all of your businesses in downtown, that economic, the jobs could be affected. But the bottom line is the tax dollars that are coming back to your town are going to be less. So you need to, that's why you need to build on what you have and get more people coming in We need a plan. Now, if I was sitting in your seat and I'd never seen these numbers before, I would say, you have got to be kidding me. $36,000 in Nottoway County per day? Really? You're crazy. Well, if you don't believe my numbers, they come from the state tax department. It's numbers collected from 34 different categories. And the reason that you think that is because when you think of tourism, you say it's a museum, it's a hotel, and it's a restaurant. And that's all it is. Well, it's not. It's 34 different categories. And I'm not going to name them. You've got them all in your packet.
Yep, gas, convenience stores, yep.
So all of these are where your tax dollars are coming, you know. So Mayor, if you gave me $1 of investment in tourism, I would give you $7 back because that's the return on investment for tourism. And I don't know of many places that you can go and get that kind of return. Because remember, this is clean money. This is money coming in because people are coming in, they're spending their money, they're having a good time, they've had an experience, and then they're going home. So, who are the tourists? Because I would ask that question too. I want to know, okay, who are these people that are spending $36,000? A tourist is anyone that travels 50 or more miles from home, either for a day visit or for a weekend or for a night or for business. Now, visiting friends and family is the #1 reason people come into Virginia. That's why it's important that you have a really good marketing campaign so everyone in your area knows all the great things that you have, so that you can be telling them and you can keep them here instead of going somewhere else. Shoppers. #2, people come to Virginia to shop. That's one of the biggest things that they do. So you have that. Business travelers. All the people that have been coming into Fort Pickett and all the people that are going to be coming over the next umpteen years are your business travelers. And of course, day trippers. 13 to 27% of the people coming to Central Virginia, which you fall into, are visiting friends and relatives. They're shopping, they're visiting history, rural sightseeing, and visiting museums. Guess what? You have every single one of those. You have that. A lot of times when we're looking at what's in our backyard, we don't see it.
Correct.
But stop and think about the things that you visit when you go on vacation. You have a lot of those things here. So other people will come and visit those things. So that's just a little bit about who is coming. This is the profile of the average tourist that's coming to Central Virginia. Average income's over 100K. They travel in a party of 2.7. I've always wanted to see what that 0.7 person looks like because I think it would be interesting. 63% of them are married. Their average age of 45. 33% travel with children. The average stay is 3.3 nights. Average spent is 473. Now, having said that, it may not be that they're coming here and you're the hub. They may be staying somewhere else and then coming, visiting friends and family somewhere in the area, and then they're coming in for a day trip. You're a cool spoke.
Right.
You need to really work on developing being that cool spoke. And then moving forward to being that hub where they're staying here, and then they're doing things here, and then they're branching out. And that's where I come in. I can help you work with that. This is just some pictures that I gathered for a day in Blackstone just to show you the things that you do have that people will come here for. So now, that was the why of the plan. Now, the background, how did we get to this point? How did the plan get here? Through my work with VTC, I met with the DBI director, Zachary, and outlined all of the VTC services that we have. Tourism planning is one of those. I'm not going to go into all of our services tonight. That's another discussion because we would be here all night long.
Right.
So, but we have grant opportunities. We have a lot of different opportunities that I can come in and assist you with. The DBI board recognized the importance of tourism because they were given all the information that you were given. And so they scheduled the planning process for November the 6th. And it was local input there. We met again, we developed the workshop, we developed some of the things that they wanted to see come out of that. The community stakeholders were invited, and you have a list of the participants in your packet. And several of you, if you were at the planning session, stand up, please. Thank you.
Pretty good.
So you have an idea of who those participants were that gave the input. I facilitated the plan, and by that, I stood up and talked all day and they had to listen to me. And I led them through copious exercises, and they were brain dead when they left because they had had to think all day long for 2 days. But the most important thing I want you to understand is that all of the input came from your stakeholders. This is not Sandra Tanner's plan. This is not Virginia Tourism's plan. This is Blackstone's plan. All the information was sent back, and the plan was written so that it would work in your community. I don't do that because I don't live in your community, and if I write the plan for you, it's not going to work. The locals need to write it so that it will. So it's very important that you understand that. We did a lot of exercises. I talked about those. We did asset identification so we could see what assets you already have. We looked at what were future things that could be developed. There still may be some things out there that we didn't even hit on that day that could be that one big thing. So more input is needed. And again, this plan is not set in stone, it's fluid, it's a starting point. We did a business gap analysis of what types of businesses do we need in the downtown, what types of businesses that, if you're inviting these tourists in, what are those businesses that would be there that they would help support too? And we did a community assessment, your volunteer base. What are your volunteers like? Who's there that could be resources? Who are the ones that could come in and assist? Who are those spark plugs to help move this effort forward? These are other plans that I have facilitated. It's just a few of them. Let's see, Surrey's not even on there. I'll be in Surrey next week. I did this planning process for them. Last year, they developed a tourism program and hired a coordinator that started on December the 1st. So I'll be back over there next week working with her and her tourism committee so that we can get them up to speed, start seeing what's that low-hanging fruit, what are the things that we need to do, and start developing and marketing.
Did you say Surrey has hired a tourism coordinator? Okay.
Pat Burnshausen.
Roughly how many of these localities here would you say have a staff member that's paid or dedicated to tourism? Half, a third?
Danville has somebody that's dedicated. Dinwiddie, Brunswick now has someone they just hired.
Brunswick does?
Brunswick hired someone. Mecklenburg, Suffolk has a full staff. I also did it for Olive White and Smithfield. They have a full staff
Smithfield,
of like
yeah.
6 people.
Really?
Franklin Southampton has someone, and the example I'm going to give you is Mecklenburg.
Okay.
Because I live in that county, and prior to 2010, we did not have a tourism program. I did the planning for them, and from that, what resulted from that was they did branding and marketing for the county. They hired a company to come in to brand the county for economic development and for tourism. They also did website design. Since that time, they have done photography and redone their website a second time, different marketing efforts. And I tell you all these because VTC helped pay for those, because we have a marketing leverage fund grant that not only do we come in and help you see what are the things you need to do, but we also have a grant. That grant is different from most because you don't have to have cash. You have to have 3 partners. Those partners can use their marketing budgets as match, and up to $10,000 is one of our dollars to one of your dollars. And so you get a lot of different services. We also offer a lot of different buy downs and ad space and things like that. And not only do we offer it and have a cut the price so you can afford it, we also help you pay for it. So that's a whole different conversation. Okay. But out of this plan, they did that. They hired the full-time tourism coordinator in 2011. They developed their tourism program in 2011. What they did between 2010 and hiring that tourism coordinator was put together a committee of people in the community. They asked me to come and work with the economic developer to put that committee together. And we did, the committee came together, they worked on the branding and marketing aspect, and then they went to the board and they hired the tourism coordinator after that. And so the program was then developed, and then when the tourism coordinator came in, they immediately started marketing, getting people to come to the area. They went to trade shows, and they also started developing new tourism product to be able to market to bring people into the area. And one of the things was a co-op effort between Mecklenburg County and Halifax County. Halifax has a paid tourism person too, and I've done their plan. And I'm getting ready to do the town of South Boston, which was the Southern Virginia Wild Blue Way. And so those are just a few of the things that they did. Now these are their numbers. Before the plan was implemented, their economic impact was $112 million. In 2017, they've had the program now for 6 years. It's $137 million. They're bringing people in that are spending more money. The job growth has come because there's small businesses that have developed. Restaurants have come into play that weren't there before. And then the biggest thing is their local tax revenues. 3.2 million was 2011, and it's gone to 4 million in 2017. So you can see it's grown. Okay, this is the story of St. Paul, because this puts it all together. Has anybody ever been to St. Paul?
I know someone sitting behind you went last a couple weeks ago, but, oh, next week, okay.
Okay, this is, and I'm going to preface this by saying that you don't have to build Disneyland. That when you put your assets out there and you see what you can develop, and this is what they had. This was the asset that they had, and this is what they used. They started with a plan, just like this, and then now we're going to see the rest of it.
Just for frame of reference, what's the population?
Their population actually is
The Spearhead Trail story is a story of tourism, but it is also a story of hope in Southwest Virginia, in our communities.
Because of Spearhead Trails, I think that we've had a great renewed interest in what can happen in small town Virginia. We were certainly doing things in St. Paul already, but they gave us that little extra shot to get us off of our life support onto something bigger.
I always knew that this town had a lot going for it. Even when it was covered with coal dust and boarded up storefronts, I could see past that, and I could see the potential in this town. And now I feel like other people are finally catching that vision. They're seeing things in a different light and seeing a different way forward, and I don't think that ever happened before.
The trail system will have been open 4 years, but in that 4-year period of time, we've looked at restaurants coming in, lodging, a brewery. There are so many things for people to come in and experience that were not even here 4 years ago. And we feel like that this is only the beginning. They get out here, and it's like being in a cathedral, where they can see the sunrise in the morning. The things that most of us just take for granted are so special. It is many ways to those people who come here as emotional as going to a Disney World.
You come in town on a weekend, Saturday mornings, you see several ATVs riding up to downtown, people from all over the United States. It's a good feeling to see them coming into your home and really loving what they're seeing, what they're doing. One of our trail systems, we've been compared to Costa Rica because there's nothing else in the United States like that. Now, if that doesn't put a smile on your face, I don't know what would.
Today, St. Paul is on the threshold of a new frontier, the frontier of adventure outdoors.
Like I said, you don't have to, I'm not saying build an ATV trail. I'm saying utilize the assets that you have. They had a plan. This did not happen overnight. They have been working on this for at least 10 years. And before they got it up and running, they had to go through a lot of different pieces, moving pieces. But what they did was they made tourism part of their overall strategy for the town for redevelopment. And they also, like I said, they have less than 1,000 citizens there. They're a Virginia Main Street community. They integrated the trail development with downtown development and entrepreneur development. So what they did, they made sure all of those pieces, they were developing the trail, but at the same time, as a Main Street community, they were developing those entrepreneurs. Now, they also have public and private partnerships to secure grants and funding, which that's out there. There are developers, there are, all kinds of people out there that you can get to come in. And they have over $3 million in private investment. Now, Zachary's going Monday, weather permitting, going Monday, and there is a new boutique hotel that they have in St. Paul. So that all came because those people that you saw in that video were those people that were helping to guide the force and get things in there and put the pieces together.
Quick question without getting in the weeds. I'm just curious, was this trail something that had been going on for years and they realized, hey, let's market it, or they just decided one day, let's make trails?
I started this position almost 12 years ago and went out there because trail development is one of the niches that I work with.
Okay.
And one of the things that I do, the Tobacco Heritage Trail,
Yeah.
I've done that since my children were born and they're 20, so I've been working with it for
Right.
that long. And I do that in other areas of the state. And I went out there to talk to them 12 years ago about developing a trail. And it started out that they were going to do like a hiking, biking trail, and it morphed into this once they started doing the research. So there are a lot of different things that you can do, but the thing is, you have to have a plan, you have to have a direction, so you can start getting that stuff together, getting the players to the table. And the Baileys that were in there and the hardware store, still own the hardware store in the town, but they took some old buildings and they've turned them into spaces for people to come and rent and stay there. So there was, at one time before the hotel, there was very little lodging. Yeah. And so they saw a need for the extra lodging, and so they developed these. And then they also started the brewery that he talked about. So they have diversified. And he told me, I had a conference in South Hill 3 or 4 years ago now. And he came and spoke. And he said, the hardware store was at a point where I had to make it relevant to today, and then all of these other things. So he started selling and bringing in the stuff for the trail. So it's not just a hardware store, he's also selling things that go along with the trail.
Sure.
And then there was a shortage of places to stay, so he found that opportunity. And so all of these things that were not there 4 years ago are now coming into place.
Four-wheelers break down.
Right.
Should be someone to fix them and
Exactly.
supplies.
Buy a new one too.
Yeah,
Right, right.
that's awesome.
So that's just, that's how they took a plan, and there were pieces and parts in it that, originally it was going to be a hiking, biking trail, and then they're like, you know what, that's not going to work. We're right here at Hatfield and McCoy Trail. Why can't, and it's, if I'm not mistaken, I think they have just joined and connected to that. So now it's a multi-state that you can go. So
How did they, just random question, how did they acquire land for that? Obviously, it's a town trail.
Good question.
How do you
I
acquire
don't know
private?
the answer to that, but I will find out.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if it was logging companies that they got it, or I don't honestly know. I can find out for you.
Good question.
So, that's the why. I told you the why. I told you how we came to the plan. You have a copy of the plan. And then here's the outcome for tonight. We're asking that you adopt the plan. And what does that mean? It doesn't mean that you're going to have to invest $6 million right away. You're not going to have to invest anything. The only thing that I want to see is that they have the plan, so it's a starting point for me to be able to work with you all to start helping you develop your tourism. Again, like I said, the plan is fluid. In order to do this, I need somebody to work with. And I need to know who the point person is, so that it's a unified voice.
Sure.
So there was a recommendation in the plan as to the DBI and the chamber do it. However, that's entirely up to you all. You all decide how you want to put that committee together. I'm here to help you with that. I've had experience with it because I've done it. I've done it in Surrey. I've done it in Mecklenburg. I've done it in other areas.
Right.
So I'm here to help you. The other things that will happen once this is adopted, it becomes part of the economic strategy for your town. It's also can be put into your comp plan as the tourism portion of economic development.
We need that.
And, well, there you go. And then there are other opportunities like through VTC and other state agencies. Once we have an idea of what we're doing, who we can bring in, who we need to bring into the table.
Let me ask you one other question. I'm weak on the vision aspect, but I'm good with the questions aspect. I know you mentioned several counties where, like for example, Halifax has got a plan, and then you mentioned South Boston. How?
In the town of Halifax, I meant.
Okay, so have you worked with any counties where the county has a tourism plan, and then a town within that county also has a plan?
Yes, Brunswick has a plan, Lawrenceville has a plan.
Do they have good synergy, or they find themselves marching at different beats? I'm just curious.
Actually, Brunswick just hired a tourism coordinator.
Okay.
Lawrenceville doesn't have one, so now they're working together
Together,
because
okay.
they have a plan.
Okay.
I facilitated a plan for Nottaway years ago, and
I seem to recall. I mean, you've been doing this.
I've been here for a long time.
Yeah, right.
So, I'm trying to think of other counties.
Well, the thing that
Halifax County has a tourism plan. Halifax County has a tourism department. They have a visitor center on 58. The town of South Boston is a Virginia Main Street, and Tamara works with Main Street. I work with her for that, and I work with the town manager, Tom Robb. We're working on developing the downtown, trying to bring the trail into the town. They're in the process of trying to pull a plan together, or they have a plan, but try to pull together to have a boutique hotel in the downtown. But before the developers will come in, they have to make sure there's things for them to do.
right.
So one of the things that they did, and I worked with them, was they had, through DHCD, it's a program called Community Business Launch. That's another conversation, but what happened was they had 6 new businesses through this program that opened in the downtown. And the majority of those businesses are tourism related. So I go back in periodically and work with them on their marketing, work with them on their social media marketing, helping those businesses, because I want them to be sustainable. So I go back in and do that. So I'm on the front end of the planning, and I'm on the back end of workshops and helping and development.
But what you're, like I said, I know that you say every community is different, and you're not going to write the plan because it wouldn't work. But what you're seeing, gathering from the discussion tonight, is that a hybrid, perhaps, of the chamber and DBI would get the ball rolling. Okay, and you would be willing to help them and advise them.
I'll be with them every step of the way.
Now that, being somewhat of a parliamentarian, that right now requires no town other than town cheerleading. But what does this council, and what do you think the town, this is a good plan. I saw several good things in the plan about the blunt truth that we don't really have any unique assets that you can't find 200 miles from here. And it was very frank in acknowledging that we have a lot of volunteers that are worn out, that have, volunteered for this, that, and the other. I thought it was a very honest plan, and the need. We don't have public restrooms. But what does this council, or you think, what should the vote be tonight? To adopt a plan, but you say adoption, what does adoption mean? What does adopted mean? It would become the plan, a starting point. This council does not need to say, we give you permission to work together, DBI and Chamber, they can do that. Council, what do y'all think?
I think what they're asking for, or what we as a council need to say, is that we support that the town should have a tourism plan.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
And that's what I think we're saying.
And I want y'all all working together.
Absolutely.
I want the town to be a part of that as well as
Right.
DBI and the chamber.
So I sit here thinking about the home run. I mean, when you show me something, I'm very visual. When you show me that St. Paul, I'm sitting here thinking, what is it we got? We've got all this. What is it? What's our thing? Is it and that's where I get frustrated, where I can't come up with the answer. I know all these we have great restaurants, we have museums that no one else has really. Got some decent history. I mean, Patrick Henry didn't sleep here that we know of, but I can never find the home run in my mind. And maybe it's not a home run. Maybe it's base hits. Maybe we need base hits. Yes, Zachary Whitlow.
I want to point out, there is, as you just said, there is no answer, but you reiterate again what the answer is that we are a hub of a variety of different events, retail, lodging, all different kinds of activities for visitors. And it's not just about, the assets that we have, but leveraging what's in other communities like Farmville, our neighbors, Mecklenburg, So that answer is a hub of many different activities.
We're good in the fall. I mean, the cruise ins that Walter Mack does, that's something we don't really calculate. That is amazing. We're good in that Blackstone Wine and Beer Festival that Bobby Thomas, that thing is just in its infancy. The arts and crafts, the Christmas Grand Illumination. You mentioned something that I picked up from you tonight about families. When you go to Grand Illumination, you expect it to be all Blackstone folks. I mean, there are people that come from me in Chesterfield who have gathered in Chesterfield for Thanksgiving, but are coming to Blackstone because it's closer and less crowded than the Richmond Grand Illumination, and it's fits their schedule. So maybe we need to focus on base hits. I'd entertain a motion for this council to go on record support, and any other motion that council wishes to make tonight.
I'd like to make a motion that we support and adopt the tourism plan as a part of our comprehensive plan.
I second it.
Ms. Thompson is second. Ms. Hasbrook's motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for a voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Now, we feel good. What's next? That's I want to make sure we can, and I don't mind telling you, Zach and I have had several lunches. The town, this mayor, sometimes guilty of having fragmented communication. We have, for example, we have the town, we have a DBI, we have a DBI design committee. We now have a beautification committee that's appointed by this council that's going to be making the report to council soon. But I want to make sure that all of us strive to communicate and not get far afield or go quiet, go dark.
I can come back anytime. Like I said, I live in La Crosse, so I can come back and meet with you, with 2 members at a time, whatever you need for follow-up information. My next step is meeting with Zachary, going over the plan again to look at what is the low-hanging fruit, to start prioritizing what needs to be done.
Right.
And trying to put that committee together. And bringing you back in to see who's on the committee, that type of thing. Bring the council back.
Sure.
To see who's on the committee, and if you want a member of the council on the committee, that is good too. You both are you still DBI? Both okay.
But I think you're right. I think when you have representation, you have somewhat of ownership, and it makes sure everybody's involved. I saw several faces here that names and report. Anyone here in the audience have a comment, question, concern? It's an informal work session. I want to commend those of you I see that did participate in the study. I see a hand in the back. I don't have my glasses. I apologize. Who was that?
I was just wondering, with the land that's going to be developed out next to Pickett, would it be possible to talk to that developer about putting in walking or biking trails in around that large place there? And, because I don't know how many acres.
He's got 73 acres. I've talked to him. He's very pro. Mr. Nash has talked to him well. Mr. Gomez wants to build a bridge, so to speak, between his place and the community, because he also realizes that several months, most of the FAST training is going to be summer oriented. And he asked me, how do you recommend I fill these hotel rooms in the off season? I mentioned to him hunting. A lot of hunters stay at the Wedgwood. Some of them stay in South Hill, and so that's a great point. Some walking trails.
Trails and then connect them back to town somehow. Or
it's possible. I mean, we got to think big, and like I said, vision is not something I've ever been good at.
Trying to attain land or whatever to do something with, you've got a completely undeveloped tract of land right there that's large enough to house something like that. If you could get the developer, if the town could work with the developer on putting something like that in from the get-go.
And I'll be glad to talk with them too. Like I said, trail development is one of the things that I work on all over the state. I'm also in the state Trails Advisory Committee for the General Assembly. So, resources and things like that.
Well, this town has a lot of, this is local people, but we have a lot of folks that walk, exercise, and because of traffic in residential areas, it's not as safe as it used to be. But I know that's locals, not tourists. But
you'd be surprised how many tourists will come from out of the area for that. The Tobacco Heritage Trail is a good example of that.
That's a good run. That's a good one from across Lawrenceville. That's a good one. That's a good one. What else, ladies and gentlemen? We thank you for your time, and I don't see how you do all these localities. I mean, you'll have a good book one day. And all the nuances of all the communities are always different. But small southern communities are tough because we, myself included, tend to be set in our ways and don't have the, we drive by things every day that we just know is a so-and-so building, but don't realize the potential that it has.
Exactly. And I sat in your seats, as I said before, so I understand that. And the most important thing to me with the planning process too is you want to grow, but you want managed growth. Because every community that I go into does not want to turn into Richmond or whatever.
No.
So having a plan in place and managed growth helps with that too.
Right, right.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
This is my contact information. You have it on the back. Email is the best way to contact me because
Good.
I'm never sitting in an office.
That's
anywhere on the road. So I do respond to emails.
Very good. Thank you so much. And before I adjourn, I just want to give y'all a heads up. Walter McOsborne emailed me today. I'll forward the email to the clerk. The Civil Air Patrol would like to begin using the Armory on Thursdays between now and April, but Walter Mack mentioned that it's got to pass environmental, but he didn't want any action tonight, but it'll be information in your packet for January 28th. I just want to give y'all a heads up. No further business to come before this council.
Did you want to bring up, you said something about an email about this, or the weather?
Oh, I just want to say that our town crews, I think everybody here will agree, we all can agree on this, our town crews more than earned their pay over the past 2-3 days, and we thank them for everything they do, and hopefully they're all resting. No further business. The meeting's adjourned at 6:42. Thank y'all for coming.